Good evening, everyone. Can't even get my words out. I'm so hyper. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the United Stand. Manchester United 1, Copenhagen 0. We have finally secured 3 points in the Champions League, and this is our first step to climbing that ladder to try and get out of group stage. I have with me a star-studded, premium, absolute celebrity of a lineup with me. We've got Jordan. Thank you very much for joining. We've got Mods. And the one, the only, the mystic Ricky Godfather is here as well. We've got lots of talk. We already started arguing about Scott McTominay just about 30 seconds before we started the show. But we'll start off with the man of the moment who actually came up with the goods when it was needed. It was Andre Onana after the abysmal start to his career to Manchester United. He's come out and made a very crucial save. I'll start with you, Jordan. Yeah. He's come under a lot of stick from the media, dropping his keys. That's come out in the newspaper, goalkeeper dropping his keys, and now he's just saved us. Talk to me, how are you feeling about Andre now?
I'm hoping it's a pivotal moment in his career, and it is a turning point. I didn't think he had an amazing game, but I didn't think he had a bad game. I thought he played well. But huge moment for him and Harry Maguire. You know, you look at two players who've come under a lot of criticism. We always say it's completely different playing for Man United than it is playing for any other team, different pressure. But today, they both turned up. And, you know, you talk about scoring last-minute goals. Well, that is the equivalent of a last-minute goal, a penalty save for a goalkeeper. And you could see the way the other players gathered around him and celebrated with him, where he was sort of trying to push them to crack on with the game.
Did you see how many players came about?
From everywhere.
They knew.
It was like 40 players on the pitch. I don't know where they came from. like who are they all? But yeah, everyone come. The under 9s, 12s, 19s, 21s. Everyone. The chefs was out to celebrate that moment. And it's nice to see that level of togetherness and celebration for him. So yeah, good. Great moment.
Yeah, Ricky, you were just saying that David didn't really save many pens during his time in Manchester United. He's probably, saved only a handful. And Onana's already started. We were watching Mark's player ratings, and he said Andre Onana's won us the game in essence. Do you agree? Do you think Andre actually won us the game?
I think it's difficult to argue against that when it's the 94th minute and there's only 4 minutes of extra injury time on the board. Obviously, the winning goal is the actual winner, that wins you the game, doesn't it, so to speak? But I'm often saying on here, I don't care about individual moments. When like last season, when Marcus was coming up with a goal, I was saying, you've got to play better overall, and if you just play better overall, we'll get more goals. So I'm not interested in somebody having a special moment, and I'm not interested in somebody having a nightmare moment. You can have one nightmare moment and still have a really good game, and you can also have one fantastic moment and still have a really crap game.
Correct.
That can happen. But today, at the end of the day, I think it's difficult to argue that that's not a match-winning save. Well, the ref, after he saved it, we didn't even restart. The ref blew his whistle, so that's difficult to argue. It's definitely a match-winning save.
But let's talk a bit about his passing, Mods, because throughout the game, I think after Garnacho had come on, he's made a very nice diagonal pass to Garnacho, pinpoint pass, and the whole crowd started clapping. But in the first half, I noticed a period when he was real further forward on the pitch trying to find a winger, and he's ended up just lashing the ball out, and everybody's like, frustrated. It's obviously going to be very 0 to 100 because performance is not there at the moment. But what did you make of his, just in general, apart from the penalty, his game as a ball-playing goalkeeper?
Yeah, it's funny that we've kind of brought in, we have brought in Onana for his passing ability, but this game, I feel like his saving ability was actually his best performances. I feel like he made quite a few decent saves, but his passing was what kind of held him back, which is kind of crazy, the fact that we brought him in for that reason, but he's kind of doing the opposite now. And I'm kind of hoping that they can both now elevate, and his passing and his saving ability, because for me now, when I'm watching Onana, even if it's a easy save, I'm a bit hesitant. I'm thinking, please just catch it, or please just put it wide, or just get it out of danger, because he's made so many mistakes this season. But that confidence in a goalkeeper isn't there, and that's what you need from your keeper. You want that confidence to be like, my keeper's gonna get rid of this, or he's gonna do what he needs to do if the defenders make mistakes. But onto his passing, I honestly feel like his passing isn't bad. It's just the movement that's in front of him isn't great. And I feel like there's a lot of confusion when it comes to our attacking players. Because there's been a few times where I'll see Hojlund and Rashford, and they're in the exact same place, and they've both gone to make the same run, and one of them has realised that they both made the same run, and they stopped, and it's like that confusion up top is what's kind of, I feel like it's not holding Onana back, but a lot of he's probably seeing that as well up top, thinking, who should I give it to? He's not making a run because he might be thinking that another player's making a run. I've seen Bruno make the exact same run that Hojlund's making at the same time, and I feel like once we can sort out our attacking players and even some of our midfielders to be making the correct runs, then we'll see the benefit of Onana's passing ability.
Loads of quotes coming out from the media side from Ten Hag. One of the ones I'll touch on is Christian Eriksen, who came on in the second half and absolutely turned the game around for us. Ten Hag on Christian Eriksen, he says, very important. Christian is always positive. He brings football and, well, he brings football. That's what he said. He said that before. He brings football, and we did not have the football in the first half. It was too difficult. Copenhagen is well organised, and you have to break them. Christian Eriksen makes the right passes. Let's touch on that, Jordan, because Sofyan Amrabat was someone that every majority of the fan base admired whilst we were targeting him, and we finally brought him in. But today it seemed like it wasn't working out for him in the first half. Again, a big ballsy decision bringing in a midfielder, 45 minutes in, and now he's saying Eriksen gives him more football. Is this a sign that maybe he's thinking about Eriksen starting against the likes of Cities and in the big games? And does it show that Eriksen is the guy who's supposed to be the main player in that midfield?
Well, to be honest, when Amrabat didn't come out for the second half, it could have been a number of midfielders that could have been changed for. I think he needed to make a change to try and get a player to unlock their defence. But that could have been Bruno at that point. For me, it could have been Scott. I understand why he went for Amrabat, but I don't think Amrabat had an overly bad game in the first half. I don't think any of the midfield played particularly well.
Okay.
I still feel like he needs the right partner next to him in order to get the best out of him. My concern for Eriksen, I don't feel like we don't have another midfielder that can do what he does. I think he thinks 2 steps ahead of everybody else. It's very similar to Paul Scholes, how he used to think, he's just, everyone else is playing, 2 touch, he's playing half a touch. I think he just thinks that just such a forward-thinking player, and sometimes the rest of the team around him can't catch up. My concern with him is, can he do it over 90 minutes? Can he do it 2-3 times a week? So the fact that he didn't start today would suggest to me that the 90 minutes they want to give him is against against Man City. And he felt like he had to bring him on today to try and unlock them, because what we were offering in the first half just wasn't there.
Okay, not to throw too many stats in there, but I will give you an interesting stat, because he mentions this thing about football, Ricky, right?
Yeah.
So Sofyan Amrabat, in the 45 minutes that he played, had 0 crosses, had 0 accurate long ball, and had 0 key passes. But Eriksen, in the 45 minutes that he played, had 1 accurate cross out of 2, 3 accurate long balls out of 4, and obviously an assist, a big chance created as well. So clearly that's a bit more football in terms of stats, right? So do you think, looking at that Scott McTominay and Amrabat pivot that he was playing, bringing in Eriksen in there and letting Scott McTominay do a bit more of the defensive job was the right decision now going forward?
It was certainly the right decision today, because we were awful in the first half, weren't we? Let's be honest. They were easily the better side in the first half. We had 1 or 2 decent passing movements. We didn't create a clear-cut chance in the first half. Not one. There was an half chance where Rashford played a ball round the corner, and Hojlund, I think he sort of knocked it down with his stomach, so to speak, and smashed it over the bar from the edge of the box. Not a clear-cut chance. That was our only sniff at goal in the whole of the half. Yeah. And every time they got the ball, when they had the ball, you could see the process that they were doing, little touches and remembering that they've got a teammate here when they're not looking and turning and passing it. They looked a miles better team than us. Yeah. Second half they didn't. So you've got to say it worked, haven't you?
Yeah, but I feel like that isn't a like-for-like substitution. Like,
absolutely,
Amrabat, what Ten Hag is asking Amrabat to do isn't what Eriksen was doing. It's other players on the pitch that weren't giving us what we needed. So he had to sacrifice Amrabat to try and unlock. So McTominay can play in both positions. He's dropped McTominay back. But that's because, your Brunos, your Rashfords weren't unlocking that defence. So I don't think it's fair for it to be a direct reflection that Amrabat didn't offer crosses, that's not what he's there to do.
100%. Can I just come in on that?
Yeah.
When you're talking about that substitution, obviously it's Eriksen who comes on. And it's obviously Amrabat that goes off, but you have to consider what else happens. You know, McTominay does get told to play a little bit deeper. Yeah. In the first half, it was entirely Amrabat who's got to stay in that position, and then McTominay, who was sort of next to him, but with licence to go forward. Yeah. So then when it changes, it's McTominay who's got to stay as the base, and then Eriksen's got the licence to go forward. So there's a subtle change, and even though it's Eriksen for Amrabat, it's not a direct swap.
And I feel like, you know, we're talking about the City game, talk about who do you think is going to start, and like you said, in it, they're two completely different players in my opinion. I think Amrabat covers way more ground than Eriksen can. You know, I don't think he even has the legs to be able to do that. So in a game where we need a player to be all over the pitch, Amrabat, even if his attacking abilities isn't as good as Eriksen, I still prefer Amrabat to be in the pitch because, for example, a game like City going to have most of possession, so we're going to need players that can run around because they're just going to pass it through. If we have players who are going to be static. So in that kind of game, I would rather, because we're not going to have the ball as much, hands up, we're not going to have the ball as much against City, so I'd rather play like Amrabat, who has that more defensive capabilities than Eriksen, because when Eriksen, if he does come on or when he does come on against City, it'll be more of an, okay, now we can try and attack them, and maybe it'll be later on in the game and we can try and push them a bit more, but Amrabat for me would be more suited in that style of game.
Right. Well, I can clearly see that Mark has sent over everyone from his player rating, so welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. Firstly, I'm going to read through some of the quotes that has come out. And funny, there's one here that Erik ten Hag explicitly mentions. He says, I'm going to try and read it out in Erik's tone, the way he does. He says, Christian is always positive. Huh? You see, he brings football. We didn't have the football in the first half. Yeah. And a lot of people, myself included, was upset with Erik saying the way he spoke about Casemiro and Eriksen's sub last game. And now he's mentioned here again with a different player. So it shows that he's keeping a balance amongst, you know, players. He's not just throwing Casemiro under the bus or anything as such. So that's nice. He also says, right, he says, every time we have to change at the back, if you look back to last year, we had a very good back four with a consistency. Every time we control the game. This season, we have to swap and make adjustments in the back, and then the midfield opens up. We have struggled to get the right balance. So it's a bit of honesty from him, you know, because he's again mentioned before this season that midfield is not the issue, but he's addressing that there's a lack of balance. He says, after a poor first half, we stayed calm. Second half, we stepped up, and overall, we created more chances than them. The win is justified, but it was a narrow escape in the end. I'm going to ask you this, Ricky, right? And this is on Erik ten Hag. Early on in the first half, they hit the post, right?
Yeah.
It's nail-biting time. I think we conceded 4 corner kicks that counted in 14 minutes, 35 seconds, which is absurd. It's the amount of pressure they put on us. He then brings on Eriksen in the second half, and it's clearly a different profile of player to Amrabat, and he's throwing Lindelof almost and throwing players on top of the field, you know, big tall players to try and maybe get across and nick a goal. It's almost like throwing the kitchen sink at it, like I keep saying. But Ricky, is this sort of football sustainable? Because it came very close where this game could have gone another way. And yes, we'll celebrate the win. Yeah, we just won, but from a tactical standpoint, it seems like very, very nail-biting, stressful football week in, week out.
I don't think it's sustainable. I mean, I know it's normally in the Premier League, but we've just won a game in the Champions League now by 1 goal. So we've only won 5 Premier League games. I don't want to say only. We're climbing up the league, but we've won 5 Premier League games, every one of them by a single goal. Now we've won 1 Champions League game by a single goal, and it will come back to bite you in the bum. Now, funnily enough, it's a funny old game because Wolves should have had a penalty in injury time, shouldn't they? Who's to say they would have scored it? You know what I mean? Sure. And these have had a penalty, and you know, luckily, I say luckily, great save, but luckily we've managed to save it, or Onana's managed to save it. So it's not sustainable, and you're not going to win enough. When I say it's not sustainable, I think playing as we are. Look, we're Man United. People will start laughing at me now and say, what's he on about? Playing as we are, we'll finish at least in the top 10. So depends what you mean by sustainable. Yeah. But it's not sustainable enough that we'll be able to keep climbing the league, never mind making a championship challenge, maybe even qualifying for the Champions League. Won't be. I don't think it's sustainable playing like
Okay.
this.
Couple of super chats. I'm just going to quickly address them. Anthony says no midfield tempo equals to lack of goal, which is equals to Erik ten Hag's problem. And Reece says it's criminal that Garnacho doesn't get more minutes. Why not start Garnacho and play Rashford on the right? Good to see you, Jordan. Legend. Ten Hag has actually said something directly about the penalty and the referees. He says those players, Harry Maguire played a good game and Andre Onana as well. He had an important save just after half-time. We should have got a penalty on Marcus Rashford, and I do not know why it was not a penalty. It was onside, but he did not give a penalty. Finally, we dealt with it, and it was a step up. Few weeks ago, we got out of rhythm from referee's decision. Mods, what do you make of the last bit where he's clearly stating that we were kind of shoved off track because of referees' decisions?
I really hate blaming referees because, in my opinion, we should be taking this game regardless. For United to be blaming the referee on one decision, well, there's a couple, but mainly the penalty decision is poor from us. Because that means we're saying we weren't good enough anyway, so we're relying on, you know, a potential penalty. I mean, there was a Rashford chance where he's gone through, and in my opinion, I saw it straight away and I said, that's a dive. Like, he's jumped over the keeper. It was a dive. I obviously didn't see the replay of the game, but we shouldn't be relying on referees to be able to be winning those games. We should be going in this game and completely dominating it from start to finish. So I'm not really a fan of saying, oh, the referee lost us the game, the referee cost us this decision, whatnot. That's our problem for not being good enough to be able to take the game, you know, straightforward.
Oh, Jordan?
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I think, you know, clearly, you know, VAR and referees are not, they're clearly not giving us a lot. Yeah. We've got to grab hold of the game ourselves and be in charge of our own destiny. You know, throwing shade at referees is not going to get us anywhere. There's enough players in that squad on big money, big reputations, that we should be rolling over teams like Copenhagen and not worrying about the fact that this player was brought down for a penalty and it wasn't given and whatnot. And you don't want the manager to give that mentality to the players that, you know, and what was the word you used, sorry, about coming out of a bad
on the referee,
yeah.
He said we got out of rhythm from the referee's decisions.
Yeah, that's...
I think that's... Can I come in there?
Yeah,
I think that's embarrassing for a club of the size of us. I think it's
I don't understand why you said that.
I mean, if he's on about that decision in the second half, they absolutely mullered us in the first half. How was that taking us out of our stride? It might have even given us more impetus to sort of say, you know, sometimes when someone goes against you, you go, right, lads, come on, let's show. So it might have improved us, it might have took us backwards.
He's on about historic decisions. He's not on about today.
He says few weeks ago.
Few weeks ago.
He says few weeks ago. But
I thought he was on about that decision. Can I just ask one question? Because I think he's talking about the one sort of quite deep into the second half where Rashford was clean through the inside right channel.
And the counter.
So from where I was sat, it looks offside. He's saying it wasn't offside.
Yeah, on that bit, he says Marcus Rashford. We should have got that penalty on Marcus Rashford. So, I don't know why it was not a penalty. It was onside, but he did not give a penalty.
So if it was onside, why wasn't? What did they actually give? That's what I want to know. What
offside.
They did give offside.
Yeah.
Well, the referee, if they give offside, that's the linesman's job. VAR could get involved because they can get involved because it could have been a penalty.
Yeah.
So then they can look back at it. I know they can't get involved in offside, but if it should be a penalty or it should be a goal, they can't back.
Yeah. I don't think it was anyway because I didn't see Rashford really calling for it.
Rashford just jogged past.
Yeah, he just ran past. So I feel like he knew
Bruno
straight away.
Kicked the first up, but Rashford just sort of jogged past. But anyway.
He says this season, every time we have had to swap the back four and then routine goes away. So he's clearly mentioning something about he's working on something in training, but he can't follow that because he has to chop and change the back four. He says this season, every time we have to swap the back four, the routine goes away and then the midfield opens up and we struggle to get the right balance. I'll come to you, Ricky, because one of the players that we've clearly had a big disagreement on, and I've asked the fan base as well, before I came into the studio, I said, what would you say to Ricky after watching that Scott McTominay performance? And funny enough, a lot of people actually say he wasn't the worst player on the pitch.
We're playing that badly. Sometimes you have to decide who's the least bad.
That's exactly what we were just saying before.
You have to decide who's the least bad.
It is different shades of shit.
I mean, the manager... I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with Amrabat. So, look, I shouldn't really use this as a bargaining tool because because the manager's making terrible mistakes time after time. But he still decided to take Amrabat off and put McTominay there, so he thought there was benefit in that. And I thought McTominay did well in that position in the second half, I really did. And like we've just said, if you just take the game as a whole, we certainly played a lot better in the second half. And I know you're giving all that credit to Eriksen, but McTominay was getting loads of ball and just giving simple passes and keeping it ticking over. I thought McTominay played perfectly well.
But he could have took McTominay off at half-time, couldn't he? And left Amrabat on.
Yeah, he could have, but I'm not saying he shouldn't have done either. Yeah. But as we just spoke about, McTominay was playing with that role, sort of allowing him to go further back, further forward. So when he took Amrabat off, he was sort of saying that he thinks Scott McTominay can do that job. He did just slightly change his role, didn't he? And I thought, look, I was about to say I think he did all right in both roles. He certainly did all right in the second half. In the first half, as a team, we could hardly get a kick. And I don't think really you should, again, I'm not going to say he was any good whatsoever, but he was no worse than anybody else, so why get on his case?
But, I mean, that was a poor decision, though, from him, raising his leg that high as well.
Yeah. Look, I think I've already covered this. You can make one big mistake and have a decent game. You can also have one great moment and have a poor game. Yeah. So, he's given a penalty away 2 games in a row now, hasn't he? Yeah. So, that's got to stop, obviously. Yeah. But,
you know what he was saying about changing of the back four? I really feel like he's aiming that a lot above Varane, because Onana, the first ball, the amount of times it goes to Varane and then Varane starts things. And then if Varane isn't in the team, you're looking at Lindelof or Maguire, and they're just nowhere near as comfortable on that ball as a Varane. Varane will pick the ball up, and it's just the calmness in that back four that he seems to give them, and then he'll pick the next pass. Just sitting behind the goal and seeing the ball go to Harry, straight away, you just see everyone else just sort of, there's just like an anticipation of, is he going to make a mistake? Where Varane picks it up and he's just got that cool head about him. You're like, okay, he's all right. And I'm sure, we were saying that Maguire is playing with a man of confidence without having that armbands on. He looks like a different player again. And long may it continue. And I'm sure eventually, game by game, the stadium will calm down every time he picks the ball up and not think he's about to make a mistake. But Varane is so important to kicking things off.
Let me ask you, Mods, this question. This had popped in my mind whilst I was watching the first half. How slow our build-up is. Harry Maguire is coming in the central position of the pitch with Varane going to the side, and you have Dalot pushing out a bit. And you see, whenever the ball comes to Harry Maguire, everything takes just longer. Everything just takes longer. He has those more touches as well. Obviously, we miss Lisandro Martinez, but is this something that we're going to have to accept, that Harry Maguire is going to play like this, but he might have the odd mistake? He hasn't made a mistake today, and he's the man of the moment for sure. But we're still unable to find those line-breaking passes into the midfield, build from the back properly, and it was the same first half. Even though he got the goal, and people will say he had an okay performance, but let's be deadly honest, if that was a draw, people would have said, and they would have picked up on how slow the build-up was.
Yeah, I think with Maguire, one is we can't forget his confidence has been low for a while, and I feel like that has stopped him from being able to push the ball a bit further forward. Because from what I remember Maguire being like is he would actually drive into midfield a lot. He would take the ball and he would run and he would find those passes. He was that kind of defender. But when you're obviously making a lot of mistakes, you kind of take a little step back. Let me not go that far forward, because he's likely to lose a ball, and he's done it a lot of times. So I can see that he's changed his game to try and avoid making as many mistakes, which has obviously slowed us down, because usually we'd have Martinez there and he'll be the one to take the ball a bit further forward. He'll be the one to be a bit more riskier with his passes, because that's what we need in the team. We need players who, they're not afraid to make a dangerous pass or a creative pass to try and set a Rashford free or a Hojlund free. We need players who are more confident to be able to do that. And in this kind of game, because in my opinion, Copenhagen played very high up, and I feel like this was a game for players like Rashford and Hojlund and Anthony to get in behind, because they were playing a pretty high line in my opinion. So what we needed today was to have players who were had the ability and had the confidence to find those runs. Because I saw a lot of times Rashford was about to make a run and then no one's giving him the ball. Hojlund's about to make a run, no one's giving him the ball. And the biggest chances we had was when we got him behind. Look at the Garnacho chance, the Rashford chance that he obviously missed. Rashford had a couple of chances like that. The Hojlund chance that Rashford obviously played through. These kind of games, we need players to be a bit more confident and say, you know what, yeah, I might lose a ball, but it's a risky pass, but this is what we need today. We need to be able to play those through balls and to try and get us a bit further forward.
I do feel it is partly Harry Maguire in that sense, but I do think you've hit the nail on the head. There's such a lack of movement in front of these players, and sometimes you don't see it on the TV. But you know, today sitting there and seeing the wingers, that there's no movement, and you see it more from a throw-in. Player picks the ball up for a throw-in and looks and waits to see someone do something. Everyone's like they're stuck in Marmite. No one's moving. So you want to try and get those midfielders to create that space, move around, and give these players an option to make the pass. So that is half of it.
A couple of super chats. I'm just going to read them out very quickly. Let me see. Negado says, funny how everybody changed their tune on Onana. Harry Maguire.
He said he made a good save. That's all.
I think he means the chat in general.
Oh,
I think he means the chat. Yeah.
Sorry.
Or just
sorry,
online.
We all just went out. Don't you say that?
Harry Maguire's in the chat. He says, "Fuzzy boy, want me in Italy now. I'm the world's best centre back, and I proved it. I'm carrying us now. Hush, I am United." Thank you very much, Harry.
Why didn't he cup his ears when he slid?
It's a good time for me to come in there. I said it before we went live. We've won our last two games at Old Trafford by the odd goal, and Harry Maguire's got 1 assist and 1 goal. You know what I mean? Can't knock it.
It is what it is. He owes us a lot as well, so it's good. Jim says, once again, McTominay gives away a pen. Awful again. TravelBugTV says, thankfully, we got the result. To be honest, we're a mediocre squad. Be realistic. Who out of our squad can make a worthwhile difference up front? Well, funny enough, we won the game with Martial on the pitch. Anthony Tracy says, Harry, more lethal in the 6-yard box than our attackers. And IC says, why we defend bang average players like McTominay who are nowhere near good enough for Manchester United. Look, I take everybody's opinion on board, but that sort of comment is almost an easy getaway card comment, like, oh, he shouldn't be playing for Man United because he's not that level. He's playing for Man United, so he's Man United level. He's made it this far in life to be able to play for Man United. But yeah, he wasn't actually as bad as people make out. He had lots of more touches on the ball. He had lots more passes on the ball today. But let me touch on this, Jordan. I'll come to you. In the second half, we stopped playing this long ball, hoof ball, almost excited, treating the ball like lava football, and we started using our pacey players on the counter. And I put a series of tweets out because I got very angry, and I said, all you fans that like possession-based football can hold this one, because I'm adamant I don't like possession-based football. I've said it, unless a manager comes into Manchester United and changes my mind and wins things, I'm not going to be a fan of possession-based football. Soon as we start playing that sort of football where we're using Bruno's, killer passes and using pacey players, we get an opportunity from Rashford. We get an opportunity where Rasmus is on the ball, putting the ball through. We get Alejandro Garnacho going through as well. I think it was 4 goals, 4 1v1 chances or 3 1v1 chances. It's just a bad touch that let us away today.
Rashford's touch was horrendous.
So was Garnacho's.
Horrendous.
So was McTominay's.
Poor, not like Rashford's.
Sure.
There's nobody took a touch like Rashford there, where he's through one-on-one with the keeper. He was outside the box when he touched it. He went out for a goal kick.
Yeah, I know.
It was bad. It was bad. And funny enough, he's got a boot coming out soon as well, don't he? He's got a boot coming out.
The thing is, though, if people compare Garnacho to Rashford, then it's completely different stages of their career. Rashford, that was dreadful. Such a bad touch. And, he's supposed to be our shining light, our lead man. You've got to be finishing that. But going back to your question, sometimes all it takes is for one player to be in our midfield that fills everyone else with confidence, and that is Christian Eriksen. Those attackers feel like...
Bruno Fernandes.
It's not Bruno Fernandes. It's Eriksen. It's like he changes the look of that team because he thinks 2 passes ahead of everyone else. So they know that the attackers know they can be found. They will make the runs into space because they know he's got the ability to be able to pick them out. The issue is that can he do it, like we said, over 90 minutes multiple times a week? And for me, I thought that's why Mason Mount was coming in.
Jordan, we had this on the show, well, I can't remember when I was on last. He's such an important player, Eriksen, and he makes us tick so much better.
Yeah.
Would we not be better starting him, even if he can't play 90 minutes? You're allowed 5 subs these days. I remember the days when you had 1 sub, and then it went to 3, and now it's 5.
One sub.
It's 1 sub before you were born.
Before Christ. They played with medicine balls then, were they?
When I was a kid in the 70s, 1 substitute you had. 1 substitute.
And were you the player that was getting subbed?
Even before my time, so it's still history to me. Even before my time, I don't know if you lads know this, a little bit of an history lesson, but substitutes only came in the 60s. Before the 60s, there's no substitutes. If a player got injured, you played with 10 men.
Ricky, we're not in the
No, I
60s.
get that, but that's gone on and on and on. Then it was 1 sub, then it was 3 subs, and that wasn't, to me, in my lifetime, that doesn't seem like too long ago, probably 20 years ago, it became 3 subs. Now it's 5 subs. So don't tell me you can't start with a player who you might know you're only going to get 60 or 70 minutes out of.
Okay, I hear you, and in a normal week, I would say yes. But given the week it is, you look that we've got Man City on the weekend, and if you're going to get the best 90 minutes out of a player that you don't feel could give a lot, really in that squad, with the money we've spent, we should have enough to beat Copenhagen at home. So you try and save Eriksen for Man City. Unfortunately,
if we're going to play him against Man City,
I
just said we might want to use people who are a bit more defensive. You know,
but then it's someone else that needs to be dropped. I agree. Amrabat, and I play Amrabat.
I was going to say that when he was talking about it.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing to have a player who can actually. It's not just about being able to make 1 pass. It's about giving the ball to someone who's in the right position so that he can get a touch and he can pass it. And then you can start moving it round a bit. Not in order. People might think I'm talking about us taking City to the cleaners. I'm on about actually taking a bit of sting out of the game. And Eriksen can do that. So if you've got a player like Eriksen in your midfield against City, there might be a little bit less defending to do, a little bit less tackling to do, a little bit less running to do. And running's a bit easier, by the way, when you run in to make space to receive passes than it is when you're chasing your opponents around.
The other thing about that is, you're right, we're not going to have a lot of the ball against Man City, so you want a player on the pitch that 1 in 3 passes, he's going to make the right pass. When you look at a Bruno, and you're looking at 1 in 5 or 6,
but exactly. That's the thing with Bruno. My biggest difference between Bruno and Eriksen is I feel like Bruno's always looking for that pass, for the glory pass, and
which you don't want. I hope you mean that's not what you want.
That's not what you want. Especially in a game where we're not actually playing that well, and we're playing a more defensive team. It's like let's have players who can just ease the play. Let's work the ball up through the midfield. In my opinion, first half our midfield was non-existent. I don't think I think Maguire and Varane had more passes between them than our whole midfield. I mean, there was no cohesion, no I don't know, style of play between our midfield 3. And that only really came in.
It's almost always like that as well.
Yeah, literally.
We've not played well all season. No. I know we've won games.
We didn't play well last season.
I saw so many times as well how Copenhagen players, they got away in extreme tight spots with
brilliant
precision.
One-touch
football. And if I'm seeing that from my team, I'll be excited. But the thing is, I don't see it. You see, Manchester United, when they end up in a difficult situation with the ball, especially I've seen Rashford numerous times where maybe the ball is in the air or the ball is going to come to him. He doesn't come to meet the ball. He always waits till the ball comes to him. And this is a huge pet peeve of mine because as a professional athlete, you already judge the ball of the pace when it's going to where it's going to land. Why are you going to wait for the ball to bounce and slow down and the defender to come closer and closer to you instead of meeting the ball? One of the things that Garnacho does well is he'll meet the ball and maybe try and beat his defender on the momentum. But speaking on the midfield, I mean, Bruno Fernandes is still not being dropped by Erik ten Hag, doesn't get subbed. Obviously today he didn't drop a man of the match performance. Ricky, against City, and going forward, he keeps mentioning this balance and routine as well. He mentioned in one of the quotes, he says, we have seen games this season, we have not had good possession and we lose control in midfield. But I am sure when we get the routines back in the back 4, it gives the team a foundation to play off. So do you think he's in essence, blaming the midfield issue that we don't have a solid back line?
It sounds that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily
He misses
agree
Martinez.
With him. I don't necessarily agree with him. You can say he misses Martinez. I wanted to jump in before, but I didn't. Our best passer from the back when he plays is Johnny Evans. Short passing and long passing. Look at his ball for Bruno. Johnny Evans is passing.
I mean, the sample size isn't as big as...
No, it's not, but he's played 3 games, we've won them all. You know what I mean?
But it's 3 compared to Martinez's whole season that he's played.
Yeah,
Like,
look, Johnny Evans, for me, is just different gravy. And I know he's 35 and we've signed him for nothing, and it's just ridiculous what's gone on there. Why he was let go by Leicester. He's ended up coming training with us to keep fit. And you know, I can't remember if I said this on the last show. He's come training with us to keep fit. It almost smacks of the manager didn't know who he was. If he wouldn't have come, it's like Sunday League. Yeah. If he wouldn't have come training with us, we obviously wouldn't have offered him a contract.
Yeah.
So I mean, if I was Man United's manager, I didn't know who Johnny Evans was, and I'd have phoned him up and said, "Do you fancy coming down?"
Would you really? Would you really though? Because
no
you would have
100% I would.
But you have got Kim Min Jae and Todibo and all of these.
Yeah, but he's free. But he's free.
Yeah. I mean, he has bought a few free signings, so it's not like out of the ordinary for him to get a free signing.
If you pick up a catalogue of all the free signings, you wouldn't have plucked up Johnny Evans.
He would have.
I would have.
Yeah, you would have, but you are a unique individual. I
signed Ashley Young as well, and
You gave me a penalty on the weekend.
Log me out.
You gave me a penalty.
Log me out. No, I get what you're saying, and sometimes these things come about, and they're gems. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I honestly feel Johnny Evans wouldn't be as good now at this stage of his career if it wasn't for Man United, because it means so much to him. If he'd gone to another club now at this point in his career, would he be busting a gut now? Probably not.
We'll never know the answer to that, will be. But what I will say is everybody seems to have a downer on a player being a bit older. There's older centre-backs than Johnny Evans playing. I mean, how old's the lad playing for Chelsea and he plays week in, week out?
Thiago Silva.
39 or something.
I think the argument is, Ricky, is that
look, all I'm saying is,
all
I'm talking about, you was talking about passing from the back.
Yeah.
Johnny Evans is passing from the back in his calmness, in his coolness. And I'm talking about short passes into the midfield players. Yeah. Strikers there who's going to bear down on him. He's got this little bit of a move that he does and plays it that way. Or he sometimes turns in a circle and passes it into somebody's feet. He's different gravy, Johnny Evans, at passing. Whether he's going to get caught out for pace and one thing and another. But then again, Martinez isn't that quick. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? When he's fit, you know, I've got no problem whatsoever with Johnny Evans playing. He might fall down, you know, it might fall down, it might prove me wrong, blah, blah, blah. I don't think it will. Now then, if he drops one major rick that costs us a goal, people will be on me. Look at Johnny Evans, look at Johnny Evans. Yeah. But look at the things that other players have done. Martinez has given stupid goals away since he's been with us. And I know he's only played 3 games, Johnny Evans. Martinez has played loads. I get that. But all I'm saying is, as soon as something does like that, people will be on it. But it's not fair. It's not the way to look at it. As I've just said earlier, one mistake doesn't mean you've had a bad game. He is a great passer of the ball. Now then, I'm not saying that he's got to play against City, but certainly against some of these teams like tonight, for example, is miles better than Harry Maguire at passing the ball into the midfield. When we're talking about trying to build up play, trying to give the right passes to people who find that little bit of time and space to move the ball on again, Johnny Evans is your man.
Yeah, but I feel like we didn't need that today because Varane's there. And I feel like...
The more players you've got that can do it right, the better, Jordan. The more players you've got to do it right, the better.
He's better than Maguire, right?
Yeah, but you want a balance with your centre-backs, and I feel like what Maguire offers us, where he will attack the ball in the air and whatnot, is not necessarily...
Have you seen Johnny Evans losing a header? Have you seen Johnny Evans losing a header? He's absolutely awesome.
He did score that goal that got taken away.
He scored the goal. He scored that goal that got taken away. Maguire scored the goal tonight. Yeah. It's difficult to argue against, obviously. Yeah. All I'm talking about is in general. In general, against most teams, I might not fancy him against City or Liverpool, Johnny Evans, but then again, I might not fancy Harry Maguire either. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So in general, against most teams, if you've not got Martinez, for sure, I'd be playing Johnny Evans. His passing is impeccable.
Next to who?
Varane.
Probably Varane, yeah.
Okay, well, let me address some of the super chats as well. There's loads coming in. Jaya says, United play better from the right than left. Thoughts?
Well, Luke Shaw's not there. Well, it's true, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Regular wasn't great today, to be fair. I don't think regular was that good today.
You agree?
I agree, regular wasn't great today at all. But
Was he even injured? Was it to protect his injury?
Yeah,
or was it?
Well, he didn't play the last
was
game.
it simply that I think Lindelof was the manager thinking we need to shore it up a little bit at left back?
I don't know.
We don't know, do we? We don't know.
I think judging by how he's managed other injuries, people
Yeah,
coming back,
could be
60
that.
minutes,
Yeah.
he's off.
Yeah.
But what I would say is there was a number of times where he did overlap Rashford and Rashford just blanked him. And again, wrong decisions, didn't make the pass when the overlap was there. But we are missing Luke Shaw.
I think Anthony was pretty good today as well. I think he was very direct.
It could have been a tactical thing to bring Lindelof on so you get height in the box from the crosses as well, coming in from Eriksen. Maybe that as well.
Yeah.
Alexander says it will be a miracle if we don't lose to Man City. Harry Maguire says I will carry us against City. Promise, bet that. Rory says Marcus is where attacks go to fade away. Turn in, shoot, and hope. This is par for him. This is poor from him. Sorry, and he has the occasional period of playing well. I'd sell him. Jones says Garnacho was mispassing the ball and missed a big chance. Travelbug TV says Ricky talks sense. Good midfielders just lend the ball. Rory says question for Ricky. Could we make a move for Welbeck in? Could we make a move for Welbeck in January? He's out of contract at Brighton.
Squad game, innit?
Do you know what?
There's no way.
I'm just going to say something. The first ever show I did with you, so this 18 months ago, you made the call then for Johnny Evans and Welbeck. You called it that early. And you
18
said,
months ago.
18 months ago, and I remember at the time I thought, he's mad. 18 months later.
Do you think I'm mad still?
You are mad, yeah. But you're right. You said, I remember 18 months ago, and I thought, Welbeck, Johnny Evans.
He's
and you were
class,
saying
Welbeck,
we
still
should
class.
never have let him go.
He scored against
what they
us,
offer, we should never let him go.
He's a class player. Do you not watch Brighton? He's a class player. They're right up. Why can't they be? I don't understand what's so funny.
He's not as dynamic as Hojlund.
No, but he's a different player. He's a better player than
Okay,
Hojlund.
Ricky.
He's a better player than Hojlund, a million
I'm not
percent.
turning this
All
into
right,
a
all
Welbeck.
right.
Million percent, he's a better
Here's the
player than
question.
Hojlund.
Ricky, here's the question for you.
Yeah.
Bring in Danny Welbeck in January and let Anthony Martial go. Are you doing it?
Oh, it's a great question.
dear,
Do
stay
you know
awake
what?
tonight.
Do you know what? Injury-wise, don't know what's happened with the manager with Martial. Bringing him on for 4 minutes tonight, I think that was a bit
Disrespectful?
a little bit below the belt, really. I've just not because he was loving him last season, and I know.
He's got a new toy.
It's awkward saying letting somebody down when you're injured. If you're injured, you're injured. So, you can't help being injured.
He definitely got his
I
hopes
wonder
up,
if
didn't
the
he?
manager feels as though he's been let down by him.
He got his hopes up. I think he
yeah.
thought Martial was a hidden gem that he wasn't expected in the squad.
Yeah.
Looked at him pre-season.
I've heard him
and thought,
describe him as a great player
Yeah, yeah.
on numerous occasions.
But
And I think he is a great player. But
last-
he's just hardly using him at all. And do you see Beth's question in the press conference about, could you use them together? And he said, yeah, you could definitely use them together, and he can play from the side.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, is there a bit of... Because I've never heard him speak like that before about him playing from the flank. So I thought to myself, is there a bit of a hint here? And then I thought Marcus was having another poor game tonight. I thought surely after I was thinking he said that in the press conference, might he give Martial 20 minutes on the left? And he brought Garnacho on, and I said this beforehand, I don't think he's lively, Garnacho, but his passing was too poor and he's too weak. And then he had a great chance and his touch laid down. Look, I think he's got a great chance in the game, Garnacho. I think the same about Palestri. But I'm not one of them who will just say, this young kid's brilliant just because he's playing for us. I will look and I'll make my own mind up, and I think Garnacho's got a chance in the game, but I'll call a spade, as they say, and Garnacho tonight did not play well.
But that wasn't the question.
Did not play well.
Who are you?
Sorry. I've gone off at tangents there.
You started with Martial and you said
no. I'd have to say no. Martial's younger, and hopefully he's going to stay fit. I'd have to say no, but I honestly think Welbeck's up at that level of player.
on that
Welbeck's
point,
class,
if you're-
absolutely class.
If you're going to say giving Martial 4 minutes was below the belt, what do you make of the substitutions and Mason Mount didn't get on them?
Right, now then, this is something I spoke about earlier with someone. I can't remember who asked me now, but we've just got... Adam Farmy from Canada, if you're watching, Adam. He messaged me. And I've just said, look, we've got too many midfield players.
No,
The simple answer is you can only play 11. That's the answer to that. You can only play 11. I know you can make 5 subs.
Yeah.
But you can't bring everyone. You can't pick everyone, and you can't bring everyone on.
How have you spent 55 million a few weeks ago?
I understand that. But I think McTominay did his job. I wouldn't have liked Mason Mount to have done that. You know, I really wouldn't. That in that holding role in the second half. Obviously, Eriksen made a big difference.
Yeah.
I'd take Bruno off every single day of the week, and that's what Adam said to me. I'd have took Bruno off, but I forgot about Bruno. I just forget about Bruno because he ain't subbing him anyway, is it?
Bruno, Rashford.
Yeah. And to be dead fair, by the way, I thought Bruno was a little bit better today than he usually is. I don't think he was just bombing useless balls all over the park.
In the second half, I thought
a little bit
I didn't
better.
think he was great.
No, not great. He's never great. He's never great.
Yeah,
He's never great. Did you see that thing today that's come from SofaScore?
No.
Look, SofaScore's a pretty reliable website, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's given the ball away, Bruno, 221 times so far in the Premier League this year. Let this sink in. More than any other player in the whole of the Premier League.
But he does play riskier passes, so he's more likely to get the ball.
Yeah, but how many of them are risky passes that he's given away?
Most of them.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
Yeah.
2 or 3 a game.
But compared to other players, though, he's playing the most risky passes out of every other player in the game.
Let's just say, I'll give you this. He might try 5 in some of the games. Again, it listed the games. He gives the ball away 35 times, it says, against Notts Forest. Some players won't have touched it 35 times. Now then, if he's giving the ball away 5 times with risk, look at the game on Saturday when he played a simple ball across the field that goes straight to one of theirs. I remember one ball that McTominay gave it to him. McTominay gave it to someone who laid it back to him. He booted it straight up in the air. It's just absolutely shocking at times. And he's given the ball away 221 times. If 40 of them are risky passes, because they're not all risky passes, some of them are just crap passes.
Bruno Fernandes lost possession of the ball 13 times today.
13, that's good for him. On that list today, the least that he's given it away in any league game this season is 15, and it was against Arsenal. But obviously against Arsenal, we didn't have a lot of the ball.
Yeah, we didn't have the ball. Right,
a couple of more super chats. Sorry, Jordan, let me just get through them quickly. Dylan says, any news on Kobe Mino coming back? And apparently he had some minutes today. Apparently he had 45 minutes last night, so hopefully get him back total baller. Hopefully he gets back ASAP. All I'll say is please stop talking about Kobe Mino. Period. Just stop talking about him. We've paid millions of pounds for first team starting 11 midfielders, and we're just about discussing how many midfielders there is.
Got too many. I think we sidetracked dramatically there, didn't we? Because you're asking me about Mason Mount. But we've just got too many midfield players.
Too many.
That's the simple answer.
So is that then shade at the manager that he's gone and chased Mount and done half our transfer budget on a player that we did not need? Well, not so much Amrabat, because I know we needed a defensive-minded midfielder, but the goalkeeper and Mount, the argument is, did we need those?
Well, bear in mind, Eriksen is injury-prone, and he won't be here for that long. Casemiro might not be here next season.
But if that's the case, then if Eriksen's not starting, Mount should be.
I don't think McTominay should have started. So really, truly, that's the real conversation. Why is McTominay starting?
And then don't forget, Hannibal Mejbri as well is in there. He's supposed to.
I like Hannibal.
Should get
like
some
him
minutes.
in a big way.
He's done well for himself so far when he's come on as well. Another one here. Soham says Ricky is different gravy. Hairs are grey for a reason.
Yeah, can I? Oh, sorry.
No, go
another
on.
one. Pass completion rates drive me mad. These are because they're clear in my memory that it's about Bruno again. I mentioned it to my brother today. I had breakfast with my brother this morning, and I mentioned the pass, and he spotted it. He remembered it. So hopefully one of you three lads will remember it. But against Sheffield United on Saturday, Bruno got the ball in the middle of the circle, right in the middle, and he turned towards the right back, which was Dalot, and he played the ball to Dalot, and there was no opponents between him and Dalot stood here waiting for the ball, and it just goes ever so slightly behind him, but it's also off the ground. There's no reason for it to be off the ground, and there's no reason for it to be slightly behind him. Dalot's got to reach for it with his left foot and bring it back in front of him. Then he passes it to Anthony. Then, because he's taken more time on the ball, then because he's closed down, while he's getting it under, he gets closed down. Right. If you play football at any standard, you'll hear people going on his touch, on his touch. So they're getting on Dalot's touch because they know he's got to get it under. Bruno should have had it in front of him on the floor. So then Dalot brings it round under pressure. Because he's then under pressure, he gives a slightly dodgy ball to Anthony. It's a knock-on effect. And Anthony did great to get it under and he lose his man and pass it. We got out of trouble. But it goes down as a completed pass, but it's an awful pass. Yeah. And then today, in the first foot, it's all about Bruno again. but today, in the first 4 or 5 minutes, I'm sure you'll remember it, from the centre circle, long ball out to Reguilon. Reguilon's got a challenge. It's a shocker. He's got to go and challenge their full-back, and he heads it out for a goal kick. But because he headed the ball, that'll go down as a completed pass. Yeah. So his passing's even worse than you think. Do you know what I mean?
I'm sorry.
Go on. Michael says Ten Hag is avoiding big decisions by not dropping big players. I don't see the same manager that made those calls last season. So people are getting on to Erik Ten Hag as well.
I think it is a big decision to drop a £55 million signing though.
Yeah, but people
and then not bring him on.
But hold on, people are asking him to drop Casemiro. And people are asking for Anthony to be dropped. People are asking for the face of Manchester to be dropped, which is Marcus Rashford as well. Yeah. So I guess if you're asking for Erik Ten Hag to make big decisions, and if it's working in the sense where he's getting the results, then yeah. We don't have a lot of time left on the show, but for the last 10 minutes anyways, we have to firstly touch on our man of the match. Before I do touch on the man of the match though, Rasmus Hojlund was a bit cold today. I didn't see him as much involved as I thought he would be. Whether that he's not been fed or at times I'm seeing him drop in quite a bit. He was our player to watch, both of ours. I'm sure many people wanted to see Rasmus. I'll come to you, Mods, on this. He scored a couple goals in the Champions League, but tonight it just looked a bit like they contained him really well. Obviously, the Copenhagen manager was saying that. What did you make of his performance?
Yeah, I mean, I've said before on the show that I feel like he plays best when he has other players around him that facilitate him well. And I feel like players like, I don't even want to get on Rashford again, but I'm going to have to. Rashford is the kind of player that can beat any player in the world, in my opinion. He's the kind of player where if he gets it on the wing and he tries to beat his player, he can, and he can get the ball into the box anytime.
Usually doesn't though, does it?
But he usually doesn't, and that's where we're going to see Hojlund shine the most, because his movement in the box is amazing and his finishing in the box is amazing. So we can get players who can actually try and beat the man, because Anthony's not the same. Anthony's a similar player. He's not the kind of player to try and beat his man every time. He's more kind of the type of player to get the ball and probably cut in, and he did that a few times today. So Hojlund will go quiet when he doesn't have players around that's going to give him the right pass, because he's not the kind of player to. He doesn't want to drop deep. He doesn't want to do like a. Usually Martial will drop a bit deeper on and get the ball, hold it up. Hojlund doesn't want to do that. He wants to be running in behind. He wants to be finding getting on the end of balls and whatnot. But the way the players around him played today didn't help him. Didn't help him get the best out of his game. So yeah, he was quiet, but. It's a two-sided story.
I remember one particular sequence where Rashford had eventually somehow managed to beat his man and then put the ball into Rasmus. And Rasmus was just about to take a shot, but instead turned around and laid the ball to Eriksen. And their keeper made a fantastic save. Those are the type of sequences you want to see more, but it's when Rashford decides to beat his man and cut in. But we've pretty much spoken about all the players. Just quickly touching on Diogo Dalot. A lot of people are getting on his back. I think he does really well. I've actually today put it out there, it's on record, that I think he's a right winger. I don't think he's a right back anymore. Because the way he beat two players and then just zipped the ball to Garnacho, yards out, that is what you call serious football.
I don't think he can call a pass.
Luke Shaw can do that on the other side. But if we can manage to get Diogo Dalot firing, with the team, and that should have been potential goal, if you ask me. Garnacho should be meeting the ball and just hitting it straight away after one touch. Yeah. But Ricky, on Diogo Dalot, you think I'd say he's been consistent.
I think he's a quality player.
I don't know why people get on top of him.
I don't know what that's all about.
And then they say, but he got nutmeg straight after.
Yeah, nobody, like I've said about 3 times tonight, nobody has a perfect game. You can make a big mistake or you can get skinned once. It doesn't mean you've had a bad game. Yeah. Nobody's perfect.
I think the thing with Dalot is that I get more excited when I see him make a good tackle than I do when I see him beat a man, because I think we know he's capable of beating a man and crossing the ball and finding a pass. We know that's the good side of him. It's always been defensively where we've had question marks. I feel he's got so much better defensively. I feel that's the one part of the game that's improved for him.
I feel like he got caught out in possession a few times today, I'll be honest.
He's always good. He isn't Wan-Bissaka, is he, at the back?
Yeah.
Like, he will bomb forward and then it happens to the best. They don't always get back, so they get caught out. It's that balance of, is he offering enough going forward to compensate his flaws, at the back, and that sometimes can be questioned with him, I think.
Just quickly around the table, well, Rasmus Hojlund has come onto the United stand as well and given us some conversation there with Beth, so good on that. None of you know who our actual manager match is today, do you?
Who the actual man of the match
Yeah,
is?
for today.
Given by who?
The player of the match, isn't it? From UEFA, the player
Oh,
of the match.
right, UEFA, right, right.
No.
Good, because let's
It's probably
do that.
one of their players, will it?
Let's do that. Man of the match, player of the match for you, Jordan.
That's a difficult one.
I would say the player that changed the game for me was Eriksen, even in half of football. But I wouldn't be surprised if they give it to Onana for saving the penalty so late with the last kick of the ball. Personally, I would go Eriksen then.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say if we're gonna go with players who played longer than 45 minutes, I'd give it to Onana.
Is it?
Yeah, I'll give it to Onana. Because I feel like save-wise, he did do quite a lot of good saves, and I feel like that's something that we've kind of missed from him. And I feel like he picked that up today, and obviously the penalty, like you said, that's the same as a game-winning goal. So
Clean sheet as well.
clean sheet. So yeah, I'll give it to Onana.
Ricky?
It's not a bad shout, but like I say, I don't. Even though it's so late in the game and you can't come back from it, I don't like giving it to somebody just for one goal or just for one save. I don't like that. And we were that poor in the first half. I think everybody was pretty much of a muchness. I'd probably go Eriksen, but because he played, I'd be tempted to go Eriksen, but because he played the 90 minutes, it was no worse than anybody else in the first half and did a really good game in the second half. I'm going Scott McTominay. He was less. He was
this
less,
is absolutely.
He was less poor.
I knew you were going to say
was
that.
less
And I've
poor.
had it. This
He
is
was
not. I've had
less
enough.
poor.
This is not acceptable. I was just waiting. I bit my tongue and I was just waiting to see what you do.
I thought you were saying Maguire.
No, I'm
I thought
not
you were
even
gonna say
reading the
Maguire.
chat. This is.
I thought you were gonna say
How
Maguire.
could you, Ricky? How could you? You rather give it to Harry Maguire? At least you got us the goal.
I would
and
say
had a
Maguire
decent
before
game.
Eriksen, and
You
then
give it
Maguire.
to Scott McTominay. Gave away a penalty as well. You
One thing, yeah.
Yeah, and he missed
like I always say,
he missed a chance as well. And he missed a chance.
he
Yeah, he
missed
missed
a
a
chance.
really
But the
good
whole
chance.
first half he wasn't good.
He missed a really good chance.
Ricky,
Other than, come on.
That's crazy.
He wasn't, man.
I'll watch it back tomorrow and I'll give you a ring. I watched the Sheffield United game back after we had a discussion about him on what night was that? Saturday, and he was really good against Sheffield United, really good. And when we watched it here, I wasn't sure. I just said I thought he did okay. Everybody else slated him. I've watched it back and I've studied his every move, and he played really well.
How many times he touched the ball against Sheffield United was the stat?
Yeah. Now then, I'm glad you've said
no,
that.
no,
I'm glad you've said that.
What was the number?
I'm glad you've said that, John.
What? You said, why did you say?
No, I want to hear it.
Why did you say?
Because I'm interested. Because again, I've watched it once and I thought he was awful. So I'm all ears.
If you watch it back again, if you've got time,
No.
and studying, he's playing virtually all the time on Saturday as a support striker.
Yeah.
And we're knocking long ball after long ball after long ball. Now then, when we're not knocking long balls, the defenders are obviously giving it to, was it Amrabat that was playing in the middle, and Bruno who was playing deeper in that game. Obviously, just like your centre-backs always have the most passes, then probably your full-backs, and then probably your two midfield players. Scott McTominay was playing up front. Literally up front, when we had the ball, he was moving right forward next to Hojlund. We were knocking long balls up, we were playing balls down the wing. And then, when it went to them, they're knocking it back, and it's going over McTominay's head, and he's running back this way, he's running back this way, he's running back that way. He's not getting a touch of the ball because of the style of play and the way the game went. Also, the thing that gets mentioned, watch it back and give me a ring and tell me what you think, but you've got to study him. Don't be watching the game, you need to study him. And this is what I've done. And he's offered himself for a pass probably 10 times when he's come short for the ball, and they've chosen either to play it to the wing rather than into his feet, or they've knocked it long. So people always say he's not offering for the ball. He's offering for the ball on Saturday time after time after time. When he did get the ball, which was very rare because he's playing as a support striker, and Hojlund is probably the only player who he had more touches than, if that helps.
Did he?
Yeah.
Hojlund is probably the only player because he's playing. That's where he's playing.
Yeah.
So when he did get the ball, he did really well. 9 passes he completed. Didn't give up
8.
Was it 8?
Yeah.
Didn't give the ball away once. Didn't give it away once.
Just a penalty.
He lost. But he also scored a great goal.
Ricky,
I always say one great thing doesn't mean good.
Ricky, he lost possession 3 times.
Did he lose possession 3 times?
times.
Well, I'll tell you what. If we watch it back again, when they say he lost possession 3 times, because I did study it. There was a couple of times when he got a toe in, but then he's launched himself forward and knocked it to another one of our players. I'm counting them as completed passes. Some of them passes were like 4 foot, 6 foot. Just launching it forward, just poking it to another player. He did it numerous times. And I'll tell you a couple of other things that happened. He received the ball on the right wing. And when he received the ball on the right wing, it was tight. He's got a full back there, he's got a winger here, and he quickly, and a lot of players are just trying to turn back, he quickly sees Amrabat free. 10 yards in field, gives it to Amrabat. Amrabat kicks it into touch. Another thing that he did in a very similar position, he gave a short 3 or 4 yard pass to someone who laid it off to Bruno, and Bruno booted it up in the air. He did perfectly fine and was let down by his teammates. And if you watch it again and study it, and I'll tell you something else to watch for. He's on the halfway line in one point. He's on the halfway line at one point. We launch a ball forward, he gets knocked down once or twice, but the camera goes off him. And then when the shot
Now
comes
we blame
in,
the cameraman.
when the shot comes in, he's running in on the keeper, hoping for him to spill it.
Right.
From the halfway line.
Ricky.
Listen.
Look,
Ricky.
Faz, I'll invite you to come and watch it and I'll show
listen,
you.
We've well gone past the hour at this point.
You'll learn it. You'll learn a lot.
Wait.
I promise you.
My man of the match. Thank you very
well,
much.
that was against Sheffield United.
My man of the match for Copenhagen was not Scott McTominay, actually. I wanted to give it to this particular player because, you know, I had the same energy for Luke Shaw.
You was going to tell us who the official one was.
I will tell you. I will tell you. Before you started going on a crazy run like yourself. No, it wasn't. Yeah, this particular player, because I had the same energy for Luke Shaw, you know, when he was performing, that when people criticised his physicality, his this, his that, and all of this stuff, he kept performing for us. And Harry Maguire has had good performances so far, and he scored a really good goal today. So my man of the match is Harry Maguire for sure. And Andre Onana, obviously he owes us a save. Let's be deadly honest. The official one was actually Christian Eriksen. I am supposed to wrap the show up, but I'm not going to. I'm going to break the rules a little bit for you all, because you all clearly enjoying the show. But let's just quickly touch on Manchester City coming up on Sunday. Everybody, look at all of these.
Can I go first? Can I go first?
I'm surprised
does
you want to
anybody
go
want
first.
to bet me a tenner that McTominay starts? I say he
I
starts.
will bet you a tenner that McTominay doesn't start.
I'll bet you a tenner.
Right.
I'll bet you a
Not
tenner.
like you need a £10 anyway. But I'll bet you a tenner that McTominay won't start, and I have a feeling Eriksen will start instead. So we'll see. But
I think they might both start, but anyway, go on.
Then
I'll tell you what I think he'll start. Well, I've started, so I might as well carry on mine. I think he'll go with McTominay, Amrabat and Eriksen, and I think Bruno will play on the right wing.
No Casemiro?
No.
So you think Bruno right wing?
I think he'll put Bruno on the right wing, just because he won't drop in. And he's done that regular. And people laugh at me when I say this, but it did happen. It's hard to imagine. But he played him on the right wing to play what's he called? Weghorst at number 10. Two or three times last season. Yeah. 2 or 3 times.
I mean, I
think Bruno will play on the right wing.
If we start doing a bet on every single player who's going to start, will be £110. But
that's my midfield. McTominay, Amrabat and Eriksen.
Okay. But Mods, Manchester City is up next.
Yeah.
Manchester United will clearly take a lot from this game. Andre Onana will take a lot from this game as well.
Yeah.
What do you see from Manchester United on Sunday?
We're not going to have a lot of the ball, so I don't think there's any point in us trying to play players or Ten Hag trying to play players that are better to be seated on the ball because we're not going to have it. Our game plan really should be for counter-attacking football because that's the only way realistically we're going to beat City. And City have been, luckily, they haven't been as strong as I thought that City were actually going to be this season. They have dropped a few points, so they are beatable. So it's not it's not as much of a difficult game as people may think that it is.
Ooh, don't say that, Mods.
I'm trying to be optimistic. I'm trying to be optimistic. I feel like we have.
They're probably panels 5-0 now.
I feel like
I've been there. I've been there.
I don't think it'll be as great as it will be difficult. 100%. It's still City and we're still not in the greatest of form. But I feel like we should definitely take some confidence from today. I think Onana should take a lot of confidence from today. The back four, I'm hoping that we can keep a consistent back four for that game. So they have a little bit of playing time together. And yeah, like I said, I want us to be playing more. I expect us to play more on the counter attack. That's really the only way you can beat City these days.
Jordan, what about yourself? I mean, for me, anyways, I don't think has Man City beat us back to back. I think they did, didn't they?
No, we beat them last year.
No, they did. We always get a cheeky result from them at home.
We beat them at home, yeah.
Yeah, at home. The last season we beat them at home, 2-1, and then they beat us 6-3, didn't they?
The 2-1 was early in the season after we'd been slapped twice, wasn't it?
Correct.
And we went on a little bit of a run when Ten Hag's back was against them.
No, the early game was the away game.
No, yeah, we beat them second.
The early game was the away game.
Remember?
We played them, it was early in the new year.
Garnacho's
I think the 2-1 win.
Right, okay. Well, did we draw against them then?
Yeah, the 2-1 was after the 6-3. Correct, yeah.
it was.
Sorry.
Right, okay. Yeah, I tell you what is scary is that we've won 3 games on the spin, so you'd like to think we've got some momentum, but I'm not sat here feeling like we've got any kind of momentum.
No, I agree.
Do you agree? I don't feel like we're the form team
But are
at
we
all.
as bad as people make
Yes,
it? We're only
yes,
6
no, we're
points
worse.
off.
We're worse.
Just to play devil's
worse.
advocate.
No, but
If
look at
we
the
get
points
a
you've
result,
got.
we're 3 points off a title charge.
I don't care. I don't care
They're gonna crucify it.
even if we were sat here at the moment, two goal difference off the top, we're as bad as I feel. Yeah, it's painful to watch.
Yeah.
Sheffield United was a really tough watch. I don't know how you managed to put yourself through in a second time.
We've got to drop Bruno and Rashford. Drop Bruno and Rashford. We'll immediately start playing better. Immediately.
Well, look, Manchester City is up next on the weekend. I normally give a motivational speech, but I won't. What I will say is, anything is possible when you play your rivals. Actually, last time I said that we got beat 7-0. But look, it was a memorable night to say the least. Obviously the tribute to Sir Bobby Charlton as well, and the play and Andre Onana put a picture up as well and said this one is for the Mancunians, this one is for Sir Bobby. So that was a great touch from him, a class touch from him. So. Yeah, look, Sunday, it's a massive game. It's facing our rivals. I think the players and the fans will still have the passing of our legends still on their mind, so I think they can use that. And the players, at least they won't be upset that, they've not been losing. They're not coming in on losing streak. They've won a couple of games, so at least they'll have that in their mind. But thank you, Jordan, for joining me. Thank you, Mons. Thank you, Ricky, as well. It has been an absolute cracker of a show. I do want to show you all our Christmas jumper. Make sure you go and check it out. Link is in the description below, our Shopify link. It is very comfortable. It is very, very nice. And we will all be wearing this on our Christmas show. What date is it, producer?
December the 11th.
11th.
December 11th, yes. Are you going to be there?
I'm there, booked already. I'm all in.
There?
Guess I'm there, yeah.
Train's
Are you
booked.
there?
I'm coming, yeah.
The question is, are you there? Make sure you go and get your tickets, and we will all see you there. Thank you very much for spending the time with us this evening. Take care, have a good evening, and I'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you.